you know, Dad separated from Mum when I was like 3 or 4, maybe 5. So he went off in another direction. I didn't see him much at all. And you know, the only
3 or 4 years old.
Yeah, I maybe saw him 4, maybe 8 times at the most before his death. And so,
How old were you then?
17.
So in 14 years, you had 8 meetings with your dad.
Maybe a few more here and there, but it was few and far between.
Was it fatherly or?
It was difficult.
Yeah.
It was very difficult, and also seeing as he'd started a new life with Yoko and having another baby, Sean, the whole attention was directed over there. So, I mean,
Wow.
when Mum separated, you know, well, all she asked for was clothes for my back, food for my stomach, and enough money to put me through school. So we grew up basically not poor, but we weren't poor, but we weren't rich.
Not like you think John Lennon's son would grow up.
Oh no. And it was very difficult for her and for me, because the majority of people still today in the world believe that, you know, I've had millions since I was 3 years old.
If you would have said that.
Yeah, and I've always worked for my own money. I've waited, I've done this, I've done that, and finally I took off with the music. So, I mean, everything that I've done and my mother has done has purely come from our own hard work. I mean,
And it seems that everyone knowing or hearing of your father seems like they know your father. And how was he?
Well, it's very difficult because, I mean, I appreciated the man's music very much. I think he and the rest of the guys in the Beatles were phenomenal. But as a father, I don't have much respect for it at all, and as a person to some degree. I mean, I forgive him because obviously it must have been a very difficult and strange time, especially with the huge success and just the diversity of moving around the world, meeting different creative people. So I understand it, but from a son's point of view, looking back to see where his father was, knowing he was around but not communicating, was a difficult thing to deal with. And so I have a lot of, there is still some bitterness there, of course, but there is forgiveness also. And so it's very, as you were saying, it's very difficult when people come up to you and say, man, we love your father so much. And I'm going, you don't know the half of it.
You sit.
I'm just like, and I have to keep my cool. I have to, because they don't know any different, you know. And so it's okay. I'll deal with it. I've always dealt with it. I'm going to have to continue dealing with it. And so a lot of it was coming to terms with all of that. And it still bugs me, you know. Actually, I had an Italian stepfather who was very much more like a father to me than my biological father.
And how old were you when he was with your mom?
From roughly the age of somewhere in 5, 6, 7 till for about 5 years or more. I was in a private school, private money school, and there was a comprehensive school across the street, which was paid for by the government. And I would have to either run home for my life, literally. I lived about a mile away from the school.
Why?
And because the kids in the comprehensive school all believed that I was the rich kid. I've tried to explain it so many times in interviews and magazines, and they say, yeah, sure.
When you explain that to your father?
Well, no, it was too late. I was just trying to get to know him in the first place, and it was difficult enough as that was. I mean, it was a lot of distance. I wanted to run up and grab him and hold him and say I loved him, but he didn't know how to do that. I mean, it was very. I mean, I can understand that point of view. You separate from a kid. You have a kid somewhere in the world that you know is in England, and you're living in America with a new family, and your kid wants to come over and see you, and you don't know him. It's got to be strange. It's got to be weird.
But
for him.
In a sense, you didn't know him, and you really wanted to embrace him. I wonder if there was.
Yeah, but I was also scared at the same time because there had been certain situations where he was quite verbally aggressive. If I did something wrong, it would just be Jules.
Did he hit you? I mean, what do you mean?
No,
verbally aggressive.
Verbally.
Did you have a low?
It will scare the living daylights out of me, and has affected me in life.
Wow.
I mean, there's.
How old were you then when you remember some of these things happening?
It was through 11 to 17.
Did you ever live with them? Did you ever live together?
No.
Oh man! So the few times you'd see him, and some of these times you're wishing that he'd hug you or kiss you, and you do the same. You do something, and he verbally.
Yeah, yeah. I used to smile a lot and laugh a lot, and I really got shouted at heavily for enjoying life. And for many years, I've only just broken through it in the past couple of years. I wouldn't laugh, I wouldn't smile, I would always, just because subconsciously it was in there that if I tried to enjoy life and have a good time, that I'd be told off.
I think it was, yeah. Why do you think that was like that to you?
I don't know. Maybe it was. I think it annoyed him to a certain degree.
So you were enjoying yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I honestly don't know, but it was very strange. I feel that one of, well, I wouldn't say it was his fault, but I feel one of the difficulties that Dad had with me being around was, I mean, you're never ready for children, but I think he definitely wasn't ready for children.
Was he young?
Yeah, early 20s, so with the fame, with everything else that was going on. So I clearly understand that. And so in respect of that, I mean, there has been opportunities where I could have had children. But in my own heart and mind and soul, I feel that there will be a right time and that I have too much work to do at present for the next couple of years. After I've achieved the goals that I've set forth in my own mind, then I can seriously consider a family and taking care of that family and looking after them as best as I can. As I've in the past gone on without him in my life, I continue to do so. But obviously there are times when I think about him a lot. And maybe I do talk to him while I'm lying in bed looking at the ceiling. Maybe he does hear me. So, I missed him then, I miss him now, but it's part of life. I have to accept that, and I have to live my own life, and that's the most important thing for me to do at this time.
Not being too funny about it, I felt a lot of warmth and compassion from you and what you've said to me, and
Won't you be to that?
if I could get a little hug.
Absolutely. Very strange, very bizarre, publicly maybe, but
Here we are.
fuck.
That's cool. Very cool.
God, what a band. We need to say as much.